Hey guys, in case you hadn't noticed, fall is kind of upon us now. Everywhere we're seeing these. Pie pumpkins, sugar pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns. We've got Halloween coming. We've got Thanksgiving right after that. And of course, Starbucks is pumpkin spice everything. Now, I'm gonna make a pumpkin pie. With pumpkin pies, I usually just use that can of Libby's puree. It's a great product, makes life a lot easier. But because I have these beautiful guys right here, you know, let's just roast them, puree them, and then make our own pumpkin spice, and then a beautiful pie. I guess we could call this our first recipe for Thanksgiving. Timing works out, right? All right, let's do it. This part's super easy. Just got to cut them in half, throw them on a sheet pan and into the oven. They're gonna roast at 375 for about a half hour. All right, so let's do it. Right down the middle. Now this is about how cleaned out we need to get them, as they're nice and cut, right onto the sheet pan. Give them some little holes for steam to escape. What we're looking for is we want these to be very just soft, you know, just like a cooked potato, you can put a knife right through it. All right, let's get those in there. All right, now that the pumpkins are in the oven, we can work on the spice mix. We're gonna start with a stick of cinnamon. Now we have about 1/3 of a nutmeg, about 4 cloves, little itty bitty things, and 6 or so black peppercorns. And then here we have about 2 grams, about 15 to 18 allspice berries. That'll give us probably about a teaspoon of whole berries, about 1/3 of a teaspoon of ground ginger. I don't have ground ginger to you know, toast and then grind, so I went with the pre-ground. I'm gonna get these ground up. First I'm gonna toast them, then grind them, then we're gonna have our pumpkin spice ready to go. All right, our spices are toasted up. Now to get them into the grinder and get them ground. All right, got a nice bit of pumpkin spice here. This is gonna be plenty for this pie and a bunch of other things. So don't be afraid to make some and just store it. Get our ginger in there. Mix it around and we're good to go. So we have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And into that, just a little bit of kosher salt. Now here I have 2 ounces of vodka that I've frozen. Here I have a container of ice water. And then 2 sticks of butter. Flour, salt, butter. And what we're just gonna do is just massage all this together. Now if you're working in a hot kitchen, you can get to this point here and then just throw it in the freezer for about 10 minutes. When it comes out, it'll come together nicely, but all that butter will have had a chance to firm back up. Here we go, out of the freezer. It's feeling cold again. So I'm gonna start here with the frozen vodka. And so that's going to keep everything just a lot more tender. I have a regular water here. And I'm going to start with a couple tablespoons. Oh, that was 3. And all we're doing, just mixing it together. Trying to get it to come together. There we go. So here's our dough. Gonna wrap this in plastic wrap into the fridge, and it's gonna come back out in about a half hour. Give yourself a good round piece of dough to work with. And first step is really just break it up a bit. And then what I do, I just roll and rotate. That gives you 2 things. One, kind of a consistent round shape you're making, and 2, pretty much keeps it from sticking. After we have it in the pie pan here, it's going to go into the freezer for a little bit. I'm going to start cutting a little bit of trim off Really just the big pieces like this. So like here, just fold it under, and do that all the way around. Now the folding under is going to give us dough structure to work with for fluting. It's also going to give us structure to keep the dough itself from slumping. Yeah, this is going to go into the freezer for about 15-20 minutes. Okay, so our pie crust is in the freezer, and while it's in there cooling, I can go ahead and scoop out the now cooled pumpkin. Let's get all that flesh into a bowl. All right, the pie dough is out of the freezer. It's ready to go into the oven. We're gonna blind bake it for a half hour at 350 degrees. Really neat trick. Takes years to learn it. Crumble it up nice and tight. What that's gonna do, make it nice and easy to conform to your dough. So, into the oven, half an hour. Now it's time to weigh out 15 ounces of this beautiful pumpkin. Gonna blend it up here, and that's what we're gonna use as our pumpkin puree. There we go, that's good. And now with the immersion blender, just puree it up. It's gonna be using 12 ounces or 1 can of evaporated milk. Now keep in mind this is evaporated milk and not condensed. All right. There we go, this is ready to go. So here's our pie crust. It's been blind baked for about half an hour. Now let's get these beans out of there. Before we let this start to cool, I'm gonna paint this with an egg, throw it back in the oven for about 5 minutes, and then bring it out. What that egg is gonna do is give a moisture barrier between the dough, the crust, and the custard that we're gonna put in there. All right, that's good. I'm gonna get this back into the oven for about 5 minutes. This is 1.25 cups of packed brown sugar. It's about 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. This is a tablespoon of cornstarch. And then here's the pumpkin spice we made. I'm gonna go with 1 teaspoon to start. And this is a heaping teaspoon. Now let's make it 1.5 teaspoons. Now we have all our dry ingredients together. Just give them a quick mash up. And really the only reason for this is you want to get the cornstarch kind of mixed around. So now we can start going to the wet ingredients. Three eggs. And then our mix of 15 ounces, so just a hair under a pound, of pumpkin and a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. And that's not it. It's actually super easy. Yeah, so this is going to bake for 45 to 55 minutes at 400 degrees. I got my vanilla extract here, so I might as well put just a little bit in. I think it adds just a nice little hit to the flavor. And it smells really good. And then one thing I'm going to do real quick is just try it. Alright, that tastes good. Just pour it in. There we go, the pie's finally out. It's still a little wobbly in the center, give it 3-4 hours before you put your decorations on. And if you're gonna put whipped cream on it, do that right before you serve it. So I'm gonna come back tomorrow, we're gonna cut this and give it a try. It's cooled nice and gently. Something I wanted to show you is, check this out. The pie, it didn't collapse, there's no cracking, and there's no liquid separation. Now the reason for that is we didn't bake it too hot. When I took it out, this center area about that far was still really wobbly. And what that is this is a custard pie, right? At the end of the day, this is an egg custard pie with added ingredients. So that means if you let the eggs get too hot, they're gonna break and liquid is gonna seep out. You're gonna have cracks on your pie. So if you bake it gently, in this case, it went 52 minutes at 400 degrees, and take it out when that center is still wobbly. Once it cools, you're gonna have a beautiful pie with no breaks. Now when you cut your pie, do it confidently. Straight down, nice solid cut through, and then out. It looks like this came out nice and easy. Gotta try this pie. It cuts really well, it holds together very well. It's just absolutely delicious, oh my God. You know, I was talking to some friends last night and I said, the Libby's is a great product. Absolutely it is. But this is easily the best pumpkin pie I've had made from a pumpkin. Because the challenge is you gotta get good pumpkins, right? And that's a little hard. If you have a local farm that does pumpkins, oh my God, get them. If you can't get a pumpkin, dude, that's totally fine. Just use the Libby's. That stuff is amazing. Considering the product that comes out of it, it's well worth it. I got the whole pie over there. I'm not gonna finish that. I want to, but I'm not. The flavor of this is amazing. So I'm gonna finish this. You guys go do your thing. Go. This is great.